A quiet shift with big implications. If you're planning retirement, something subtle just happened in Washington, and almost nobody noticed. A bill moved through the United States House of Representatives with barely a whisper. No headlines, no outrage, no viral debate. Now it sits in the United States Senate, waiting. And if it advances, retirement language in America could quietly change forever. The proposal is called the Claiming Age Clarity Act. On paper, it looks harmless, almost boring. No benefit cuts, no tax hikes, no structural overhaul of Social Security. But what it does change may be far more powerful. Language. And in public policy, language is never accidental. What the bill actually does, at first glance, this legislation simply updates terminology inside the retirement system. That's it, just labels. But here's exactly what would change. The term early eligibility age would disappear. It would become minimum monthly benefit age. Full retirement age would be replaced with standard monthly benefit age, and delayed retirement credit would no longer exist. Instead, age 70 would be labeled maximum monthly benefit age. No formula changes, no new math, just new words. So why does that matter? Because words shape perception. Perception shapes behavior, and behavior shapes policy outcomes. The psychology behind the shift. Think about how the current terms feel. Early eligibility sounds flexible, optional, personal. It doesn't sound like a mistake. But minimum benefit age? That feels smaller, inferior, settling. Now consider full retirement age. It sounds complete, like crossing a finish line. You made it. You did it right. But standard benefit age? That feels average, neutral, less emotionally satisfying. Then there's delayed retirement credit. That sounds technical, maybe even risky. But maximum benefit age? That sounds strategic, smart, disciplined. The emotional tone changes everything. And that's where this gets interesting. Why language may be the first step. Policy rarely shifts overnight, especially something as politically sensitive as Social Security. It's often called the third rail of American politics. Touch it, and your career could end. So lawmakers move carefully, gradually, quietly. Changing vocabulary may be a way to reshape expectations before reshaping reality. If Americans slowly start thinking of 70 as the maximum benefit age, the idea of working longer may begin to feel normal. And normalization is powerful. The bigger reform debate. Right now, the full retirement age is 67 for anyone born in 1960 or later. But many proposals suggest raising it to 68, 69, even 70 over time. Why? Because the math is tightening. The Congressional Budget Office has estimated that increasing the retirement age could close roughly 1/3 of Social Security's long-term funding gap. 1/3. From a single policy change. That's massive. And lawmakers know it. The financial pressure is real. When Social Security began paying monthly benefits in 1940, life expectancy looked very different. The average 65-year-old man lived to around 76. Today, many Americans live well into their 80s. Women often live even longer. That means the system pays benefits for far more years than originally projected. At the same time, birth rates have declined. Fewer workers now support each retiree compared to previous generations. More beneficiaries, longer lifespans, fewer contributors. The math doesn't lie. What raising the age really means. Here's the part most people don't fully see. If the full retirement age eventually rises to 70, early claiming penalties would grow significantly. Today, someone filing at 62 receives roughly 70% of their full benefit. If the full retirement age became 70, that percentage could drop closer to 55%. That's not a minor trim. That's a major lifetime reduction. And this is how savings happen, not through obvious cuts, but through formula adjustments that reduce future payouts gradually. Who feels the impact most? On paper, working longer sounds reasonable. In reality, it depends on who you are. For professionals with flexible careers, delaying retirement may be manageable. But for construction workers, caregivers, factory employees, or nurses, working into their late 60s can be physically exhausting. Lower income workers also tend to have shorter life expectancies. That means raising the retirement age could disproportionately affect those who rely on benefits the most. And that's why this debate is so intense. Supporters say this is necessary. Supporters argue that the system must reflect modern longevity. Americans are living longer and, in many cases, staying healthier. They say gradual increases would protect the program for future generations. Without reform, automatic benefit reductions could occur once trust funds face depletion in the 2030s. From this perspective, raising the age slowly is the least painful option. Not ideal, but pragmatic. Critics warn of growing inequality. Critics see it differently. Life expectancy gains are not evenly distributed. Wealthier Americans live longer than lower-income workers on average. That means higher earners would collect benefits longer, while lower earners might collect them for fewer years. Raising the retirement age could widen that gap. There's also concern about age discrimination in hiring. If people must work longer, will employers provide opportunities? Or will older workers struggle to remain employed? These are not small questions. Why this bill matters now. The Claiming Age Clarity Act does not raise the retirement age, not today, but it may signal that Washington is preparing the ground. Language can gently shift expectations before policies formally change. If Americans begin to see 70 as the maximum benefit age, future increases may feel less shocking. This is how long-term reform often unfolds. Quietly, incrementally, and often years before major headlines appear. How fast could changes happen? Most serious proposals suggest gradual increases. For example, raising the retirement age by 2 or 3 months per year. This spreads the adjustment across generations. Younger workers would have decades to prepare. But once the process begins, the system could look very different within 20 to 30 years. Small shifts compound over time, and retirement planning would need to adapt accordingly. What this means for you. Even if no structural changes happen immediately, the direction of conversation matters. Depending solely on Social Security may become riskier over time. Private savings, employer retirement plans, and diversified investments could become more important than ever. Flexibility may also matter more. Working part-time later in life, delaying benefits strategically, adjusting lifestyle expectations. Preparation beats reaction every time. The Senate's next move. The bill still requires Senate approval. It could pass quietly. It could stall, or it could become part of a broader reform package. But one thing is undeniable. The national conversation about Social Security's long-term future has already begun. And once momentum builds, reforms can accelerate quickly. The next decade could determine how retirement looks for generations. The bigger question, should the retirement age rise? If so, what feels fair? 68, 69, 70? And how quickly should changes phase in? There are no easy answers. But one truth stands out clearly. When Washington changes the words, it may be preparing to change the rules. And the earlier you understand that, the stronger your retirement strategy becomes. Let us know what you think, because the quiet changes are often the ones that matter most.